Welcome to Gresham's first Facebook Live. I am Travis Stovall, Mayor of Gresham, and today we have Miss Nina Vetter, who is our city manager. We are excited to bring you answers to questions that many of you have. Much of the work that our city staff does is behind the scenes, and so we want to bring some of this incredible work out to the forefront. And we also want to, again, make sure that we're listening, make sure that we're answering questions that you are bringing to us. And so that's what's exciting about this. We're going to be doing this monthly. And so I'll be here because this is Facebook Live with the mayor, and then we will also be talking with a number of different folks. But again, today we've got Nina Vetter, who is our city manager, and we are excited about this conversation, excited to answer questions. We've got some questions that folks have already sent in to us, so we're going to step through some of those topics, step through some of those questions. And then if you've got questions during this conversation, please put them in the chat. We've got folks here that are helping us. We'll make sure that we get those questions and we get them answered during the time that we have today. So with that, Nina, is there anything you want to say as an introduction?
Well, thank you, and thank you for tuning in to our first Facebook Live. We really appreciate it. I have been here about 6 months now as city manager. Time flies when you're having fun.
That it does.
I will say we have an incredible group of staff members at the city. We have over 600 staff members who do everything from fire and emergency service to police to public works to finance to HR to economic development. There's a lot that we do at the city to serve our community. I'm so proud to be working here with such an awesome team.
Excellent. So just so that we can give the viewers a little bit of insight into how this is going to go, it's really going to be a conversation. We're going to have a conversation between you and I about some of the topics that have come up. And again, we're going to do that through kind of bringing up the topic, walking through some of the key questions that have been asked, and then just making sure that we give them information. So first and foremost, that folks all across our city have seen, we see some challenges with homelessness and houselessness and the unsheltered. And that's going on all across the Portland metro region. And so I know viewers have actually sent us some questions about what are some of the things that we're doing as a city to help address what's going on. And I know that we've got a team of homeless services folks that we have now. Just recently, we green-lighted a housing coordinator with our ARPA funds. That was just last Tuesday night at the council meeting. Can we expand on that a little bit? What are some of the things that we currently do as a city as we're looking to help with the unsheltered, with the homeless and the houseless? And with this new housing coordinator, how do we see that fitting into working with the folks that are in our community and ensuring that those who don't have housing can get it, maybe even those who are in housing don't lose it?
Yeah, this is a great and very important topic to our community for sure. We hear about this a lot. So as you mentioned, we do have a terrific homeless services team. They're out assisting the unsheltered in our community. They do a fabulous job with the resources that they have, really giving people the connection to the resources they need, whether that is a shelter or some other kind of resource. They're fabulous at giving people the opportunities and giving them those connections, which can often be really one of the biggest challenges, is whether it is someone who's unsheltered or someone who needs housing, making sure that people know what resources there are available to them, and also making sure that we help connect them. Because often that really is the biggest challenge. People don't know where the resources are, how to connect with them. It's not always easy to find those. So our homeless services team does a fabulous job. And we are very excited to be bringing on a housing coordinator because we understand that there are challenges across every space in housing, whether that is you're looking for a rental property in Gresham, you need assistance moving into a different house. We understand everyone is coming in from a different place and they might need a different resource. And so the housing coordinator, again, will really help provide that connection. We'll understand all of the resources that not just the city of Gresham has. There's a lot of great resources in our community and in the region. A lot of them are nonprofits. There's a lot of service providers that we work with, that we contract with. And so making sure that really people know what is available to them, how they can get the help that they need. And really at the end of the day, like you said, our goal is to make sure that people have a place to live that works for them.
And with all of that, man, that's a host of services that we're offering as a service of homelessness, ensuring that we can cease that experience with our community and make sure folks have that shelter. We've also got many levels, like you just said, many levels of assistance. First and foremost, across the entire region, we've got Metro with their housing bond, and we've seen that get implemented in our community. We've got Rockwood Village that's opened recently. We've got some other opportunities, affordable housing opportunities that are coming online that are going to help assist in some of the challenges that we're facing in and around this space. We've also got some funds that are coming from the state. Is that correct? Just recently in the short session or the special session, there were some dollars allocated for this specifically. What were some of the numbers, if you recall?
Yeah, so yesterday at the state legislature in their special session, they approved $1 million will go towards the city of Gresham to assist with affordable housing and houselessness. So again, that gives us another resource to be able to really provide the affordable housing that we need and provide services to those who are houseless.
Yeah, those are the amazing things that we're now going to be able to deploy within our community. So essentially, I'm very excited about the opportunities that exist there in conjunction with not just the city itself, but also with our state partners, with our regional partners, Metro, and then I know we've got some homeless shelters that have come online recently. Rockwood CDC, Multnomah County, both actually opened resources right here within our community, and so we've got those coming online. We now have a lot of focus on kind of that homeless and that unsheltered perspective. Lastly, there have been some questions around the NET team, and so. What is that? The neighborhood enforcement team. So the NET team potentially going away for the short term and the interim. So correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially we've had no cuts to our police department from a budgetary perspective.
Correct.
But because of some of the challenges we're seeing with COVID, some of the attrition that we're seeing across the board within law enforcement, we're down. Some of our resources within the police department. Hence, that requires potentially some redeployment on an interim basis away from some of the solutions that we've historically utilized. And so we're going to have to spend some time recruiting, which all law enforcement agencies are doing, to be able to reconstitute that team. But in the interim, we don't have the staff, just based on some of the things we just referenced, to support that specific solution. But we're still, potentially through other resources, through our homeless services team, we're still doing things that help within the things that the NET team used to work with. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct, yes. It is unfortunate, and we just have to do what we can with limited resources that temporarily we won't be using the NET team, but that doesn't mean that we won't have homeless services to serve those who are unsheltered. We still will have that team available, so absolutely correct.
Well, that brings us to public safety. And as we know, public safety right now is a very important issue. It always is. There's a heightened sense of concern about public safety at the moment. And some folks have asked about potentially some type of misalignment between the police union and the city, and is there friction and some potential conflict there? I would say that there is always an effort to ensure that we're working together. There will, consistently be differences as we work through some of the major challenges that exist. But from what I've seen, there isn't some major difference within administration, within the council, within the union. We all desire the same thing, and that's a safe community. Is that what you're seeing?
Absolutely, and I think what I've heard consistently from our police and fire departments, the unions, as well as our council, is that community safety is of the utmost importance. We also understand, all of us, that we have limited resources. We know that every department in the city, including police and fire, will need more resources. And I think we all understand that. And to your point, we might not agree on everything all the time, but we're all working towards that same goal of safety for the community of Gresham, and ultimately getting more resources to be able to serve everybody.
So when you mention resources, one of the questions that I consistently get, I think you're anticipating the question that I'm getting ready to pose, or the comment that I'm getting ready to put on the table, and that is there is an undertone that we are looking at defunding the police. I mean, that's an undertone that folks have asked me consistently. Actually, I was out at a restaurant not too long ago, and someone came up to the table I was sitting at and said, "Are you defunding the police?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And so, from a mayor and council perspective, the answer is no. We are absolutely not defunding the police. myself and roughly 4 of the other counselors have been a part of traditional efforts to actually increase, police and fire funding. And so it's not just about police, it's about police and fire. So public safety in its totality. And throughout the city, we have had an underfunding problem for quite some time. And so I've been a part of personally, and I know 4 other counselors have been a part of working towards getting historical levies passed. Myself, Councilor Gladfelter, Councilor Palmero, Councilor Piazza, all worked on prior campaigns to get police and fire funding up. Also, Councilor DiNucci, she was actually a part of that effort also. So we've had a number of folks that are part of this council that are very interested in increasing the funding because we've been underfunded for some time. There's a metric that's out there called police per thousand, and I'm not quite sure that's the correct metric based on activity that's required to keep our community safe. But even on that perspective, we're woefully understaffed, just with police, but also with fire. But then also when we look at our city staff across the board, we are absolutely understaffed for the size of city we are. And so I just want to let our community members know that we are absolutely not defunding our police. We're actually looking at increasing the funding. Just last week, the council voted to extend the PFP, an additional year to ensure we've got the opportunity to look at the permanent solution so that we can fund our entire city and make those investments like we should.
Absolutely. And we have a question, it seems, from the Facebook Live.
So we do have a question from Danny, who is concerned about the road condition. His SUV slipped this morning with the frost and the ice, and he's concerned about the city spraying and their efforts towards that.
So I just had the opportunity, Nina, to actually tour our operations center just recently, and we're well equipped for what the weather is bringing. I'm not sure if we anticipated this freeze, but we use a chemical that is actually eco-friendly to precondition our roads. I didn't see much of that out this morning, but I'm assuming that this particular freeze caught us a little off guard. But great question, Danny. And ultimately, I am confident as we got the tour of the Operations Center just a few weeks ago that we are prepared. We've got all of the equipment to take care of our roads and keep them safe. Any response on that?
Yes, thank you. Our operations crew does a fantastic job. I know they were out early this morning working on some key intersections, some hilly spots and some curvy spots around the city of Gresham. As the ice started to hit and we got reports in. I don't think we were able to get to every single spot again with the resources that we have. So we do try to prioritize again, big intersections, hills, and large curves. And so that's what they focused on this morning. But you're right, as the season unfolds, as we get into winter, our operations crew will be out there on a regular basis making sure that our roads are safe for everybody. So.
And furthermore, just along that line, they showed us some new equipment that was just installed this year to make the operation of getting the trucks filled and prepared for this exact operation essentially considerably more efficient. So very impressed that the solution was built by our own internal team, which was really cool to see. So Danny, again, great question. We look forward to more of those. And as Nina just referenced, I know our team was out there, and I am confident that our great team is going to be able to get in front of the future things as these things roll through. Getting back to safety, getting back to kind of what we're talking about with public safety and police in particular. One of the key comments and questions that we have is, what are we doing in regards to some of the more intense violence that we're seeing within our community these days? We know that it's going to be a challenge to get new officers on the street within an extremely timely fashion. And so recently we spotlighted 3 additional positions from a civilian side of it. One of those positions, crime analyst.
Correct.
And then another position is a police recruiter, correct?
Yeah.
So we're certainly looking at augmenting our fine folks in uniform and sworn individuals by adding some additional folks to assist there. Is that correct?
That is correct. And we have an initiative that spans across police and our youth violence prevention program as well, called Safe Gresham, that you can actually find on our website, that talks more about what are we doing today. to really handle the crime and violence that we're seeing in our community. And it really is twofold. There is the prevention aspect, and we're very happy that Council has been supportive of our youth violence prevention program and expansion of that. And the state funding for that, $2 million, was approved yesterday as well by our state legislation. So we're excited to get that program rolling. We also, of course, need to make sure that we're taking care of what happens. And so we have hired 3 civilian positions, and thankfully Council at the last meeting also approved a use of our American Rescue Plan Act dollars for more civilian positions for our police department as well. So really trying to provide the support that our department needs in order to respond, and also working on the prevention side as well. Focusing on both aspects is really important to look at this holistically and look at it long term. So we're excited to be able to have the opportunity with our council support to really get that initiative of Safe Gresham moving.
So Nina, you mentioned something and referenced something that I'm passionate about, and that's of course safe communities. And there always has to be a short, medium, and long-term approach to challenges that communities face. And the short term is making sure that we've got enough folks in blue protecting our community, keeping our community safe. The medium term is ensuring we've got a combination of engagement along with law enforcement. Long term, we've got to have law enforcement, we've got engagement, but we also have to have, in my opinion, opportunity. Because that's the underlying condition. The underlying condition is poverty. And we see a high level and high rate of poverty, then we see a high rate of crime. That's the connection, that's the correlation. So we have to have the law enforcement, we have to have the engagement, and we have to have the long-term opportunity for folks within our community. And to get there, we have to be able to make the right investments in our community, which brings us to financial stability. And financial stability is really a foundation and a hallmark of what we need to be talking about and what we are talking about. Because without financial stability and resources, it's difficult to assist in the homeless and unsheltered situation. It's difficult to ensure that we've got the right resources to put the right people out in our community to assist with the things that we just talked about with public safety. And again, we talk about resource and resource constraints and allocation of those resources. We talk about police a lot, which is very important. We talk about fire a lot, which is very important. Sometimes we don't talk about the support services behind the scenes that our team delivers a lot of. And so those are the things that a lot of people don't see. We don't necessarily always talk about what goes on with roads, what goes on with utilities. Some of those have direct funding resources and opportunities for revenue streams, but we also don't talk about HR, we don't talk about legal, we don't necessarily talk about economic development, which really, when you think about economic development, without pure economic development, we don't have the opportunities and the jobs to ensure that folks have family wage opportunities to provide for themselves and their families. And so those are the resources that are required and investments that are required to ensure that our city is properly funded. So that brings us to this key question: what is the city, what are we doing to ensure that we've got long-term financial sustainability?
Yes, great question. We just launched our initiative called Imagine Gresham, where we are going to work with all of you in the community, with our team here at the city, to develop a long-term vision for what does the future of Gresham look like. And that will help us build our long-term financial plan. So to your point, we ensure that we can continue to provide the services we're providing today and provide more of what the community really wants us to be providing. So we're excited to be digging in and Imagine Gresham, also developing that long-term plan, both of which should be done in the summer of 22, so that council can take some action on ensuring that we do have long-term financial sustainability, really so that the city can continue to provide services at the end of the day.
Now, one of the questions that I know we received prior to this Facebook Live session was, how can we as a city begin to imagine Gresham, begin to have aspirational perspectives and goals when we don't have the finances to support that dream? And I think that's a great question. That's a great concern. And what I would say to that is, ultimately, having that vision allows us to truly identify and articulate exactly what is required to achieve that goal. It's difficult, there's the analogy that we sometimes make. If you set out on a road trip, but you have no idea where you're going, you have no idea where you're going to end up. And so really being able to vision and envision what we want to be as a community, I think is a critical step to also defining what's required. So right now we have a general fund budget of about $77 million. A lot of folks don't understand what that general fund means, but essentially we've got different pots of money that fund our city. And those different pots really have to stay within their both revenue and their expenditure buckets. And the general fund is the general fund where we pay for a lot of the services, fire, police, administrative services, those types of things. And so this general fund bucket is where we have some type of an ability to have a bit of flexibility of how we expend it, as opposed to like if dollars come in for water utility, they need to be spent on water. So our general fund budget is about $77 million annually. Our sister city, Hillsborough, is $177 million. Which is they're about 6,000 community members smaller than us. The city of Beaverton is about 14,000 people smaller than us as a city. We're at 114 that are at 100,000. Their general fund budget is $100 million at the city of Beaverton, and they're 14,000 people less. Our city is $77 million, and we're 114,000 people. So, being able to envision where we want to go as community with Imagine Gresham gives us the ability to identify what really is required to get there, what type of investments, what types of resources are needed to get there. And so that's why we start on kind of this Imagine Gresham, while at the same time, in parallel, not mutually exclusively, but in parallel, we move forward with our financial sustainability concept and our Imagine Gresham. So with that, we've got another question that came in.
Yeah, Dre brought up we brought up police, but police alone doesn't address the root causes of violence, as police are reactive and only respond to crime. So I think the question is, what prevention and intervention programs is the city investing in to help mitigate the gun violence and assist with youth?
Absolutely. So, actually Nina just referenced this. We got $2 million. We've got the Gresham Prevention and Intervention Program for youth specifically. $2 million from the state, just approved yesterday, for us to be able to deploy those dollars here in our community. That starts with engagement. So Dre, you ask a perfect question, and I want to make sure we articulate this clearly. That is the core. That is the foundation of what I was just referencing with a short, medium, and long-term approach to what we're seeing. That short term is it's going to be law enforcement on the heavier side. The medium term is this engagement with our youth engagement programs. And we're working with community-based organizations. I was just talking to a leader just the other day of community-based organization that is ready and willing to assist us in the engagement that you're talking about, Dre. So I know that the council and our great staff here at the city is absolutely committed to ensuring that we are utilizing engagement as a pure way to ensure that we are seeing the crime in our community, some of the violence in our community, decrease substantially through that engagement. So you're absolutely right. If we don't deal with the underlying condition through engagement and opportunity, then we are absolutely not going to be positively impacting it enough. Nina, anything to add to that?
I think you summed it up very well. So I'll leave it with that.
All right, perfectly.
I can't say it better than you did.
Well, certainly. I mean, that is absolutely something that I think we are all committed to.
Yes,
So Dre, great question. We appreciate the question.
Yeah.
And we are working again with a number of community-based organizations to spin up this program for the youth prevention intervention program and platform that we just received the $2 million for from the state. We're also funding some of that out of our American Rescue Plan funds. We're also going to be seeding some of that through those dollars. Nina, actually, I said ARPA earlier, and we work with acronyms a lot, so it's good that you define what ARPA meant, because everybody may not know what ARPA stands for. So one of the key areas when we think about this opportunity, we think about engagement, urban renewal. So, we've been working in the Rockwood area for a number of years now, for roughly about 20 years, looking at the redevelopment of that community. That's what urban renewal is all about. And we see downtown Rockwood coming out of the ground and actually nearing completion on many of the opportunities that exist there. And those facilities, those buildings, absolutely gorgeous. We see Rockwood Village. We also now have still one site that we're looking at development in, and that's the Sunrise Center. So folks are wondering about kind of urban development. One of the questions that sometimes comes up is, does this increase my taxes?
Oh.
So I think that's a great question. Go ahead. Let's talk about whether or not it increases our taxes.
It does not, and this is interesting. I know urban renewal is not a familiar concept to everybody, but essentially the way that it works is as property values increase within the defined urban renewal district, that increase in property value that would otherwise go to the taxing districts get reinvested back into the area. So that's basically how an urban renewal district works. It is not an increase in your taxes, and it encourages, like you said, redevelopment, investment in the area. And our urban renewal team here has done a really great job of ensuring that we're including our community-based organizations and a lot of our local residents as part of that redevelopment and rethinking of what pieces of our urban renewal district could look like.
Excellent. So when you're talking about kind of this increase in property value, so essentially, as a community redevelops, as Blight is taken care of, as we've gone in and enhanced the area, then that increases property values than where they were before. And some of the thought is that if left to itself, our communities may continue to decline. And so urban renewal allows us to just focus some of those additional tax dollars that we benefit from the improvement of that area. So if you take an older building, you put a new building there, there's an increase in property value because now we have this new building where the old building was. And sometimes it takes encouragement for investors to now invest in the community. And so that encouragement comes by way of the urban renewal dollars that they can now utilize and leverage to build these new facilities. And so some of the questions that I've received, and I think we've received in this process as we go forward, is some of the questions are, well, how does urban renewal work, and have we seen any improvements from it? And I travel 181st quite often, and 181st has needed improvement. If you come east of 181st on Sandy Boulevard, Sandy Boulevard needed improvement for a long time. And part of that was funded by urban renewal. And so now other organizations, companies can invest there because they have better access. Yes. But some of the more shining examples is right there in downtown Rockwood. I mean, the beauty of those things that have come out of the ground is tremendously impressive. And so it's those gains that we've now seen that actually justify, in my opinion, this urban renewal concept. So if folks are asking truly, what has come out of that, that's what's come out of it. It's an incredible redevelopment of downtown Rockwood that now, as a community, we all get to benefit from. And one of the major concerns that we have in regards to urban renewal sometimes is anti-displacement, or displacement is the core concept. And so I think part of the conversation we have had as a council, as a commission, and as staff is, how do we ensure that we don't displace folks that have lived in that area for quite some time? And so those are some of the solutions that we are looking at and concerned about to ensure that we're not displacing key folks that have lived there for quite some time. And I know some of the conversations we're having around the Sunrise Center site, have some conversation components that include anti-displacement. And how do we make sure that we're taking care of the folks that have always lived there, while at the same time keeping them in close proximity with the resources. There are going to be some job training resources right there. I know Portland Operations and Industrialization Center, they've got some solutions there with cooking and food prep. That's going to be pretty incredible. I know Oregon Tradeswomen have their location, their headquarters right there within the area. And so we want to ensure that people can access those resources, again, because the foundation of moving from poverty to prosperity is opportunity. And if you got the training, and we've got the folks now who are starting, growing, and enhancing business in our community, that opportunity can translate into these folks being able to move up from poverty to prosperity. So super excited about the opportunity that exists there.
Absolutely.
One of the big questions that we sometimes get when we talk about our community is the police, fire, and parks fee. I know one community member sent us in. We've got this police, fire, and parks fee. It was $7.50. Now it's $15. And what are we doing with this? Where is this going? It's a great question. And part of the challenge we were just talking about just moments ago, financial sustainability, and our general fund budget of $77 million for this year includes the $15 per month PFP, police, fire, and parks fee.
Correct.
Without it, our budget would be substantially smaller by about, just under $8 million, I believe. I think it's like $7.6 million. Potentially is what it would be lower if we didn't have that. So that would actually hurt us even more. And specifically, we are needing to fund, our public safety, police, and fire. We don't spend too much on parks. We need to spend substantially more. Hillsborough, again, our sister city, their parks budget is $26 million as compared to ours, which I believe is about $4 million. So certainly quite the difference within the communities. They're investing in their parks. We haven't been as much. And we need to change that perspective. But getting back to the police, fire, and parks fee, police, fire, and parks fee allow us to ensure that we're not having now to cut back further on these incredible services that we have. And again, at the $77 million mark, we're still substantially under where we need to be to have a fully funded city. Is that something that you would agree with, or am I completely off base here?
No, completely agree. We really are reliant on the police, fire, and parks fee right now to just maintain the services that we have today, to maintain our staff. And if it wasn't for that or some other financial resource that magically appeared in our hands, which doesn't usually happen in local government, we don't just find it under a desk. If it wasn't for that, again, or another financial resource, we would be looking at cutting services. That's the reality of our budget situation, and why it's so important that we are developing our long-term financial plan. We want to make sure that we have a financial plan that's not just reliant on looking at a fee every year.
So there's with the police, fire, and parks fee, because I get this question often. That's about $180 per year per door. So and when we say door, that means residential doors, commercial doors. That just means if you've got a door within our community, then you're paying and getting utilities. You're paying this $15 a month to help fund city resources and ensuring that we've got all of these resources, both police, fire, parks, and then that also takes in consideration other services that we deliver to the city. And again, to put that in context, our general fund budget is about $77 million. We just talked about general funding just a few moments ago. It's where many of our city resources come from in regards to public safety, internal services, those types of things. In comparison, other cities, Beaverton's $100 million, Hillsborough's $177 million. So essentially where we sit right now, our general fund budget needs to be bigger. Whether that's $100 million, $110 million, $150 million, we're not sure. Part of that's going to be informed by Imagine Gresham. Part of that's just saying, here's what we need as a city to effectively make the investments to cause the outcomes that our community members want to see. And so essentially, this $180 annually per door isn't enough. I mean, we're talking about something right now that is probably lower than where we need to be across the community in that regard. So that's the challenge that we face. We've underfunded our city. We haven't made the investments that we need to make to maintain and then improve our city as we go forward. So that's foundational and that's critical as we move forward as a city to make these investments. And so we appreciate the question in regard to that. And of course, this is not the first time I received that question, but certainly want to respond in a way that says we certainly understand that any increase in cost for some is going to be challenging, but also we also understand that as a community, if we want to create, develop, and grow a community to give folks opportunity to ensure that they have everything that they need to keep a community safe, to keep communities engaged, to make sure it's vibrant, we've got to be able to make the investments in our community.
Absolutely. And we have got another question.
On that note, can you touch on the utility assistance?
Yes.
Excellent question. Yeah. As a council, we're committed to ensuring that we've got opportunities to offset some of those costs. So we have a utility assistance program. Please, 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 if you've got challenges meeting your utility cost, please reach out to the city. We've got a program that can assist in that to ensure that it's not a significant burden on you and your family. Nina, anything to add to that?
Yeah, we have this resource available, so please reach out. Our staff is also researching, what barriers are there to our current utility assistance program, and looking at that to make sure that it is available to all who really need it and to make it as accessible as possible as well.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent question. We appreciate that highlight because along with that, because we did just extend it, the council did just extend the additional $750 for another year to give us an opportunity to really get the financial sustainability conversation on the table and get that out to our great community members. But we also were emphatic about ensuring that our city also makes sure that we up the efforts in making sure folks have access to the utility assistance program and platform. And as Nina already referenced, our staff, our great team under Elizabeth Coffey is where she's our assistant city manager. She's working with the team to ensure that we can have a comprehensive program that really works, because we want to make sure that this isn't causing a burden on the folks who are most vulnerable. So excellent question, excellent highlight in regards to utility assistance. Do you feel this wonderful fire behind us?
It's beautiful. It's keeping me warm.
I'm starting to sweat a little bit based on just knowing that the fire is behind us, keeping us warm. Well, with that, folks, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We want to be able to be responsive. We're going to be doing this monthly, and so again, you're going to get to see me monthly. And we're going to have different guests joining me to ensure that we can answer your questions and ensure that we are being communicative with our community and we're being responsive. We've got lots of things going on right now, the least of which is the COVID situation. So just recently, I know last week, we just opened up some city services. So you can go to our website, GreshamOregon.gov. You can go to our website, see what services are available there. But we're starting to break through. We're starting to break through and starting to bring back services. We're starting to see people in person. And so I want to encourage each and every one of you to stay resilient, to stay focused. I got my booster just last Friday, so I'm boosted up and looking forward to having an opportunity to get some of those additional antibodies on board from the booster shot. So I know the holidays are just around the corner, folks. So again, make sure we stay safe and stay healthy as we go through the holiday festivities. Please wear the mask. If you haven't gotten vaccinated, please check out the vaccination opportunities around the region. I know there was a big one down in Wood Village. That's where I got my actual booster shot. There are going to be others around the region. Take advantage of those things. Get out there, get vaccinated, so that as communities we can get back to business and get back to doing things that we all want to do. And so with that, I look forward to these things in the future. Look forward to the Facebook Lives. Again, if you have any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Our communication staff will make sure we get those questions. We'll either answer them sometime before then. I know I do a monthly video. We might answer some of the questions there, and we'll also answer them in this format in the future. Nina, I want to thank you for coming on Facebook Live with me today and answering some great questions, having a great conversation. That really, I think, really helps out our community. Anything you want to say before we sign off?
Thank you to the community who tuned in. I encourage you to check out our website, GreshamOregon.gov. There's a lot of information about what's happening in the city. There's also opportunities to participate in some of the initiatives we have underway, including our police organizational assessment review. You can participate in that online right now. So please check out our website.
Excellent. So with that, folks, I want to wish you a happy holidays. And certainly, as we always say, stay safe and stay healthy. I want to thank Nina for her leadership here at the city. I want to thank our staff. I want to thank our police officers, our fire department, everyone that is making the city of Gresham work. And I also want to, as always, thank the staff that's working with us, doing all of the video work. Sarah Kagan and Robin Fraser Parker just doing an incredible job of assisting us and making sure that these things come off without a hitch. So with that, folks, enjoy this sunny Northwest Pacific Day here in Gresham. We thank you for tuning into us and giving us an opportunity to have this wonderful conversation. Again, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon.